Well, hello there. It's done. Star Trek Picard Season 3 is over. Oh, boy. I'm going to break down this episode in a really basic way, okay? I'm not going into the details of the episode. There are going to be spoilers ahead. This is your spoiler warning. Spoilers are coming. This season has been miles better, radically better than Star Trek Picard Season 1 and Season 2. There's absolutely no doubt about that. It has been a superior series to those first two seasons and to much of New Trek in general. However, the problems that were spoken about by other YouTubers who had the early access, I feel that they are bigger than they've said. Now, they've said that this season is generally good. It's a good season. And you have to ask why it's a good season. I'm left feeling after this finale slightly underwhelmed and asking the question, did it really need to happen? Did the story need to happen? Did we need to revisit these particular storylines, or were they already handled? Were they already resolved to a satisfactory level? And at the end of this episode, I'm left sort of in a no man's land kind of situation, where I'm not really sure what to think. Generally speaking, I don't think that it needed to be told. I think this was a love letter season, and it was ever so slightly half-arsed. There's a lot that happened in this final episode, and very little at the same time. 2/3 of the episode is spent on the crisis situation that the crew find themselves in. There's a lot of semi-humorous moments with the crew and the cast, and an ending that I feel was fine. It was fine. The crew had another send-off, a very different send-off to Nemesis, for example. Nemesis was quite a poor send-off for the Next Generation crew. Hence why I've always believed that All Good Things was the best send-off, and it was certainly the best ending for any Star Trek show that's come so far. I thought it was the superior series closing episode of all of Star Trek. However, the season has been a trip down nostalgia lane and a revisit of some stories that I don't feel actually needed to be told. Now that I've sort of randomly prattled on, this episode resolves pretty much most of everything to do with the entire series. Jack has been assimilated by the Borg Queen, obviously. Picard has to go in and rescue his son, and he takes Riker and Worf with him onto the Borg cube, which is hiding in Jupiter, just sticking out slightly of the atmosphere. So Riker, Worf, and Picard go to rescue Jack. Riker and Worf have the mission of trying to disrupt the signal that Jack is sending to the big fleet, to the Starfleet. Every single Starfleet ship that is operational is surrounding the space dock and pulverizing it with enough phaser energy to probably eliminate a planet. They have to try and disrupt the signal, stop Jack from doing what he's doing. So Picard goes to see Jack. He's in the same chamber as what remains of the Borg Queen. It looks like something out of The Walking Dead. Picard is trying to reach Jack. Jack is fully assimilated. He actually looks like Locutus version 2. Meanwhile, the Enterprise has got to Millennium Falcon its way into the Borg cube. Data is the one to pilot the ship. Data has a gut instinct that he can do it, and he takes the Enterprise in to the ship. And there are some absolutely stunning, impressive, gorgeous looking shots of the Enterprise D doing things that we never saw it do, and maneuvers that were just clearly not in the Next Generation budget, so it was nice to see that, and there was some proper sort of action. Picard manages to get through to Jack by partially assimilating himself, plugging himself in to the collective. They have a very nice moment, and I thought it was well played, it was well acted, and it was reasonably well written. It just felt a little bit sort of rushed and not very deep. Picard manages to talk Jack round Now, whilst all this is going on, Seven has commandeered the Titan, disconnected it from the Borg Starfleet connection with all the ships, and she's trying to hold off and fight the entire fleet. There's a very new Trek moment with the ship's cook, who is just so happens to be to have been a pilot, but he wanted to be a cook instead. There's a real awkward new Trek moment there, and it's not very good. It took me away from the very little concentrated nugget of interest that I had in what was actually going on the Titan. So whilst they're fighting off the fleet, and the fleet is pulverizing space dock, I would have thought with that amount of concentrated firepower, it wouldn't take long to absolutely obliterate space dock. But hey ho. Picard manages to talk Jack around, disconnects him. The entire effect of the Borg shuts down after the Enterprise D destroys the big communication swirly thing in the center of the cube. And that, of course, sets off like a catastrophic explosion. Thanks to Troy's connection with Riker, and they all think they're going to die, the Enterprise swoops in and beams them out at the last moment, and the Borg Queen and the Borg ship are destroyed. And that is it. That's the conclusion to the crisis. And then we have an epilogue for the rest of the episode. So it is the closing off of the series and the closing off of the Next Generation crew and the cast and the whole idea of the Next Generation, or the Last Generation, as this episode is called. The epilogue is fine. Okay, there's a lot of nice stuff in there, but this is really bugging me. Okay, most, if not all, of the story of this season has already been done. It is literally retelling Star Trek First Contact, elements of Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. It's retelling all of these story elements in a very compressed, kind of messy, but ultimately nostalgia-heavy story. The scenes aboard the Borg Cube were just First Contact version 2 and The Best of Both Worlds version 2. The changeling aspect of the season has just been an entirely secondary matter. The other interesting thing is everything in this episode in the first half feels massively sort of rushed, but mostly all the stakes just disappear. Okay, yes, there's been some death, there's been some destruction, but as soon as the Borg ship is destroyed, all of the assimilated crew, the young people, the assimilated crew on all of the ships, are instantly de-assimilated because the signal has gone. They have no residual technology, all of it's gone, and they all turn back to normal, and all the veins just recede, and, you know, suddenly they're all okay. And suddenly everything's sort of back to normal. It's like they were under some alien influence. But this is the Borg we're talking about. Even through assimilation, you know, all these cadets and young officers being assimilated. It's all instantly gone, and it's fixed just like that with the destruction of the Borg cube. This season is a tribute season. We know this. It's a reunion. It's meant to be a celebration, but it didn't really need to happen. And I don't feel anything has actually been added to the Star Trek universe. And I don't feel that anything's been added to the Next Generation. How would I say this? It just feels like a revisit of several key Star Trek elements and put into a season that okay, yes, and I've said this before, and I do mean it. It has shown some love, but it doesn't feel like Star Trek. It's very different to Star Trek. So you're sort of seeing these elements that are all sort of mashed into one from an outsider's perspective. And although there are some touching moments in the episode itself, I didn't see the point. It was nice to see the Next Generation crew again. It was nice to see the Enterprise D again. And it was nice to see these elements again. Ultimately, it was not satisfying at the end. Now, I've not told you an awful lot about this episode, and there is a reason for that I will go into very, very shortly. But ultimately, this episode and this season, it didn't hit the same mark for me as it would have done for other people. Overall, this episode was a very meh experience for me. And I know that people are going to say, oh, you're just being negative. Why can't people enjoy the nostalgia and enjoy the experience? Because I'm looking for a good Star Trek story, and this wasn't it. There were parts of it that were wildly entertaining, but there were parts of it that just didn't make any goddamn sense. And because it's using so many rehashed ideas, and ultimately the final ending, the closure of the story is just so easily solved. Everything's fine by the end of the crisis. Everyone's fine pretty much. There was a nice moment where you get to see Shaw in a hologram Star Wars thingamajig. You know, Star Wars always uses these holographic projectors, and it's very much in that style. Where Shaw basically says, you know what, 709, you know, Annika Hansen, Commander Hansen, she's a pain in the arse. She didn't do as she's told. Blah 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 blah. She's piss poor. But she's going to make one hell of a captain, and her, you know, memoirs are going to be fantastic. And I'm putting her in for a promotion. That was quite nice, but I felt was just not really indicative of what we saw when the season opened. I think the fact that everything was solved far too easily at the end kind of ruined it. You would think from the scale of the entire crisis and the fact that so many people have died that it would there would be some consequence. Okay, but even at the end of the crisis, you know, there's a captain's log by Riker, I believe. You see the image of the Enterprise D, and it's alongside the Titan, and they're flying together. Old generation, new generation, and I get that, and that's fine. But in his log, it's like, you know, we fixed everything, basically. Thanks to Beverly Crusher, the transporters can now detect changelings, and that's how we can find them and eliminate the changeling threat. Thanks to the transporters and Beverly Crusher, we're now able to remove Picard's DNA from everybody, making sure they don't get assimilated again, even though Jack said that this is the end of the Borg end here, and the Borg Queen is destroyed again for another occasion. And the changelings that replaced the high-level and low-level ranking officers, a lot of them are still alive. And, of course, Tuvok's fine. He's still alive. They apparently kept them. They didn't kill them. They kept them hostage. It's like, considering how much these new changelings hate the Federation, why would you keep anyone you've replaced alive in the first place? If you've infiltrated the highest levels of Starfleet, wouldn't you have killed them? There's a lot of things like that are cropping up in my mind as I'm talking about it. When the crisis is over in the episode, and everything is fine again and everything goes back to normal, we get a time jump, and that time jump goes 1 year in the future. Jack's going to be serving on a ship that's basically the Titan, but they've renamed the Enterprise G. It's not a brand new ship. They've literally just changed the name of a ship that has been in space for God knows how many years. And 7 of 9's the captain. Raffi is the first officer.
Raffi, damn it! Raffi is the first officer.
No. Oh, well, Raffi's the first officer, and Jack is in Starfleet. He's been fast-tracked through Starfleet, and, he's on the Enterprise now. The reason I'm telling you this is that the post-credit scene, Jack is visited by Q in the post-credit scene. Picard's trial is done. Your trial begins now. So it wasn't really a trial for humanity, it was a trial for Picard. You're just revisiting another point of The Next Generation. I might be being overly pessimistic here, but I'm kind of deflated. I was kind of looking forward to something a little more from this season ending. I don't really feel that this season or this story needed to happen. What can I say? It was a reunion season, and we got exactly what we were told we were going to get, a Next Generation reunion. Massively unoriginal one. With story plot lines from everywhere else. This season, if you're in it for the member berries, if you're in it for the nostalgia, it's a fine ending to a good season of Star Trek nostalgia, of going back and having certain feelings about Star Trek, about how about the Next Generation and the crew and everything. And it's a fine episode to end on. If you're looking for a good story, an original story, it's a terrible season. It's a terrible episode, and everything is just fixed straight away. If you're looking for Star Trek, it's not here. It left the building quite some time ago. Those were some of my thoughts on this episode, this finale. I was looking for more from it, and I don't... It's like the ending to this episode is them sitting around a poker table playing cards. That's where we left things in All Good Things. Did this story really need to happen? I don't think it did. And I've been left in the exact same place that I was ending of The Next Generation, All Good Things. It ends in exactly the same place. You could have just not told this story at all. And it wouldn't... I don't feel it's made a massive impact on Star Trek as a whole. That's my thoughts on the episode. Again, I've not gone into a great amount of detail, and there was a reason for that. Myself and Clayton Rumley are going to be doing a live stream on Sunday to do a full season review of Star Trek Picard Season 3. And we're going to try and keep it to Season 3. And we're going to be discussing some of the issues that we had, some of the things that we liked, and some of the things that we disliked. So that will be on this channel at around 3 o'clock British time on Sunday, and I do hope you'll join me for that. I can't actually believe Picard is over. I'm absolutely blown away, and one thing I'm blown away with in particular is how this channel has grown over the last year and a half, 2 years. I'm really thankful to everybody who's come over and hit that subscribe button, and it's been great because I've made some great friends on this channel, and I've met some really fantastic people, and I've loved all of your comments throughout my reviews of this show. My videos will be continuing. I will be reviewing Strange New Worlds, and that's an entirely different subject. The Strange New Worlds looks to be going back to the drawing board for New Trek, and I believe that will embody New Trek a lot more than Picard Season 3 did. Don't forget, live stream on Sunday. I hope you all join us. We're going to have a laugh, no doubt. You look after yourselves. You look after one another. Thank you so much for watching. Ta-ta for now.
I need the silence, stop the violence of the war in my head. Time's the healer, the eraser of all done and said. And as I fall back to my shelter, I know I'll only find peace in your smile.